Under the Skin, empowering women across borders. We have Pakistani broadcaster, filmmaker and human rights activist Reham Khan and beauty queen turned actor turned politician Gul Panag. Because we believe in Mehman Nawasi and Atithi Deva Bhav, we'd like to call Reham first. A mother of three, Reham started her career as a broadcast journalist in 2006. She's worked with the BBC and some of the best news brands in Pakistan, including Dawn News and Neo Television. She's also produced a Pakistani film called Janan with Imran Kazmi, which is a romantic comedy. Reham made headlines internationally after her wedding with Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf Party chief Imran Khan in early 2015. She's also involved in projects for women and child rights called More and Mashum. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Reham Khan. Today Conclave. We'd like you to speak for about 7 minutes, if you will. Then we'll have a question and answer session. Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me to India. Thank you to India Today for giving me this opportunity to meet people that I've wanted to talk to for a very long time. I am a woman. I look like a woman. I behave like a woman. I like being a woman. But people often come up to me and say, "You face the world like a man." Ma'am, आप दबंग हैं, एकदम सल्लू भाई की तरह. I smile and I respond कि हाँ, हिम्मत है, लड़ने की भी, सहने की भी. और वो इसलिए क्योंकि मैं औरत हूँ. But a woman's strength isn't celebrated like a man's is. Not on our silver screens, not in our homes. Even when men step forward to defend a woman's honor, the undertone is always misogynistic. अरे भाई, ये भी किसी की माँ, बहन, बेटी होगी. यानी मेरा अपना कोई वजूद है ही नहीं. A woman is an entity in her own right, but we only view her when she's associated to a man as his mother, his daughter, his sister, his wife. Just the other day, my 12-year-old daughter, who happens to be the fountain of wisdom in our household, comes up to me and shows me this teaser of an upcoming Bollywood flick. And I have a look at it and say, "Yes, very nice." And she says, "Mom, look again. Notice the title." And I said, "Yes, it's Kapoor and Sons." And she says, "Exactly. All across Pakistan, all the signs, they read Chaudhry and Sons, Khan and Sons." In fact, I've spotted Lehman Brothers. There's Harry, Tom, Dick, Harish and Sons. Why are there no Chaudhry and daughters? Malik and sisters? I was stumped. You see, these subliminal messages our children pick up from their homes from a very early age. And not only does the inequality and the misogyny start from home, but often for a woman, the most dangerous place can be the home. And all of this physical, emotional violence is witnessed by these children. In both Pakistan and India, there has been an increase in extremist rhetoric leading to political violence. And at the same time, there has been a surge in violence against women. Over 98,000 incidents of violence against women were reported in Pakistan in the years between 2001 and 2013. And I repeat, reported. How many were able to report? How many survived to report? When looking at the figures of the Indian National Crime Bureau, it's even more depressing. Between the years of 2000 and 2014, cruelty against women has more than doubled from 1.5 million cases to 3.5 million cases. A third of those violent acts of cruelty are by the husband and relatives, and that has doubled also. 86% of rape cases in India feature relatives, and that's from the year 2014. And of course, both India and Pakistan, we have our share of conflict zones. And in the conflict zones, of course, women have always been used as tools during war times, but left behind in peace times. They're subjected to rape, torture, and despair during war. But when it comes to decision-making, their presence is non-existent. In peace negotiations, the male remains dominant. Once again, the women's input is missing. You see, our societies accept the role of a man as a leader, as a head of an institution, where the inclusion of women is considered unnecessary. Globally, women constitute about 40% of the workforce. And even in Western democracies, only about 6 or 7 are CEOs, female CEOs of FTSE 100 companies. So 40% workforce are women, but only about 16.9% make it to the executive and the directorial boards of Fortune 500 firms, and a dismal 5% at CEO level. But we could quote the proverbial glass ceiling. Research, although, suggests that the problem starts much further down in the chain. Internationally, the standard for female labor participation in the workforce should be at 50%. In Pakistan, it's a measly 19%. India does better at 33%. And no prizes for guessing what part of Asia does the best. East Asia, a whopping 63% of women make up the labor force. So we can talk about increasing quotas, to put more women in the assemblies, to put more women in the boards. But will we be listening to them? We can talk about domestic violence laws, as we've just done, the most controversial bill in Pakistan's history. The Women's Protection Bill has just been introduced in Punjab. But will that encourage more women to come forward and report the incidents? When I started to make a list of things which unite us across the borders, I ran out of paper. So here's the life cycle of a woman, both in India and Pakistan. Early marriage, forced marriage, marital rape, multiple childbirth, death at childbirth, sexual harassment at work, cyber attacks, acid attacks, rapes, gang rapes, murder. But for the countless stories of barbaric, violent crimes, mostly, as I said, perpetrated by family in the name of honor and to avoid humiliation. Just this week, a young girl, a 19-year-old, was critically injured, and her husband was hacked to death by relatives in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. The week before that, in Balochistan, an even younger girl and her husband-to-be was sprayed with bullets by family members. So lots of things unite us, but what I want to say to you today is there's one thing that binds us together, and that is our hushed silence. We endure silently the pain of abuse night after night. And we are silent as day by day we hide the reality of our homes. We are silent when we are told about Okie dokies. Right, thank you.
Thanks, Reham. Our next guest this afternoon is a woman who wears many hats. She's been crowned Miss India in 1999. She's wooed over fans with performances in movies like Dole, Dhoop and Manorama 6 Feet Under, among others. And today she's also donned the hat of a politician. She contested Lok Sabha elections in 2014 from Chandigarh for the Aam Aadmi Party and is today one of AAP's most prominent faces on stage, in the state. Please welcome Gul Panag. Gul, over to you. You have about 7 minutes as well, and then we'd like to quiz both of you together. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank India Today for giving me this opportunity to put forth my thoughts with such an august gathering. Thank you very much. Most of you know that I come from an armed forces family. Reham, my father, was an army officer. His father before him, his brother's son. Between my grandfather, my father, his brother, his son, my family has fought in every single Indo-Pak war that there has been. And you can understand that being raised in an environment like that, I had a very monolithic view of Pakistan. I had a view that painted Pakistan with just one brush, that of an adversary state. And while I heard many stories from my grandfather, my Tauji, my cousin, my father, I never really, as I recall now, heard any ill will against the people of Pakistan. It was, of course, something they did as their duty towards their country as army officers. But as I recall, I can't find a single instance of any ill will that they bore towards the people, our brothers and sisters in that country. As I grew a little older, I studied history at school, and I realized that we had a very rich shared culture and heritage. I became familiar with the music of Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, of Musarrat Nazir, and I realized that there was much more to Pakistan than being an adversary state. And it all changed dramatically for me, Reham, when I went to Zambia. I was there because my father was posted on an assignment from the Indian Army, and I was befriended by a girl called Farwa. Farwa was the daughter of a Pakistani banker. She was my neighbor, and she also was somebody who turned out to be my best friend. Farwa was very warm towards me from day one, but I had carried so much baggage. I was hesitant to return that warmth, that friendship. But very quickly, very quickly, we established a very strong friendship, a friendship that endures to this day. And what I found completely surprised me. I found that when I went to their home, I found the same food, the same language. She was half Pashtun and half Punjabi. Her mother and I spoke in Punjabi. Her father spoke excellent Punjabi. We all spoke Punjabi at home. We ate the same kind of food. We wore the same kind of clothes. And even the rules our parents had set for us for dating, basically no dating, were the same. Khan Saab was very happy when I was under the care of both Farwa and I were under the care of Colonel Saab. My father was a colonel then. And Dad was very, very happy if Khan Saab was dropping us and picking us up from one of those parties that we went to in the international school environment. So I found that we had so much in common. And I think that's where my entire perspective towards Pakistan changed. As an Indian, as a young woman, and of course, as somebody who has keen interest in the future of our two nations. I think everybody in this room recognizes the need for a stable and peaceful relationship with Pakistan. I think we all realize, and we need for us to accept that the line of control should one day and very soon become the line of peace. However, I think it's really important for us to examine very, very quickly why and how. No political stability is possible within our nation unless we have peace. No economic prosperity is possible within our two nations unless we have peace. No social change is possible unless we have peace. But peace can't be that of cowardice or peace of the graveyard. We're both emerging nations. We have similar problems, particularly when it comes to gender. Reham has beautifully outlined, and disturbingly so, how gender issues together hold us back from becoming perhaps a more inclusive society. Not only gender issues, but inequitable access to healthcare, education, and opportunity are things that we have in common with Pakistan. But here's the interesting thing. In about 2-3 years, we're going to have a significant portion of our population in the ages of 18 and 19 who've never witnessed a war with Pakistan, or in fact who'll be born after the last war with Pakistan. And I think it's not fair to burden them with the baggage of what we have had in the past, of our shared history, our shared culture, a lot of which had its own trials and tribulations. But this peace that we seek has to be without compromising on the security and the safety of the people. And it's important also to not forget the challenges faced by India when it comes to Pakistan, whether it's non-state actors or whatever you may call. The fact is that Indians did die in Mumbai, Indians did die in Gurdaspur and in Pathankot, but those are issues between our two states, between our two governments, and they must be resolved as such. However, what gives me hope is that our relationship is one that is older than that between our governments and our states. How do we become closer to each other? I think the answer is people-to-people contact, cultural and economic contact. And here's the part that really, really is very close to my heart: by empowering our women. Women, as Reham said, are the biggest losers of any conflict. And yet, they're not the decision makers that can perhaps prevent conflict in any manner. We speak of in India how you educate a woman, you educate a whole family. I believe if you impact a woman in the right way, you impact the whole family. Maybe we can look at ways in which we have greater people-to-people contact featuring women. We can find ways in which greater contact between people removes misconceptions, removes mistrust, and then these people will demand of their governments a greater way to move forward together. We've tried SARC, and of course that hasn't really given us the results we wanted. Maybe it could be more substantive. Maybe if democracies put pressure on their governments, we could get more out of it. Maybe as women, if we had a little more stake in society, I firmly believe we would be able to impact greater change. And to conclude, what I'd like to really say is that our history divides us, but it also unites us. It's not possible for us to keep driving back, constantly looking at the rearview mirror. And the world is evolving, India is evolving, Pakistan is evolving. And I feel there is a hope of a bright future that we can build together. I'd like to close by quoting Faraz, that I feel best describes India and Pakistan's relationship. बहुत अजीब है ये बंदिशें मोहब्बत की, बहुत अजीब है ये बंदिशें मोहब्बत की, न उसने कैद किया, न हम फरार हुए. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was really nice. All right. So, Gul and Reham, both of you, you're celebrities in your own rights. You both have spoken about gender discrimination on various platforms. Reham, you have also spoken about your marriage with Imran and how it ended. While you were married to Imran Khan, I want to ask you if you ever thought perhaps it was a celebrity wedding, or perhaps there was a defined gender role that you were supposed to play out for him. If there was if he was supposed to be a trophy husband for you, or you were supposed to be a trophy wife, did that ever cross your mind? Is that how you felt?
I wrote about our situation in August last year in the Newsweek, Pakistan, and I suggested that I'm not the stereotypical aspirant first lady, and perhaps Pakistan needs a change. And I posed the question towards the end of the article that are we ready for tabdili or not? And I got the answer a little bit sooner than I expected. So I think the world is changing. I did not marry either time for the status that the man had. In fact, I declined because the status was the most unattractive feature. So, yes, I think there are certain stereotypical issues or constraints in Pakistan, and this is what I was concluding with, that is what binds us together. We may profess and pretend to be very modern, but actually we don't really want to listen to what the women want to say or contribute. And it's this fear, and I don't think it's the men, because when we talk about gender empowerment, we talk about women in isolation. So how can you empower a society if you don't empower the men first? You can't empower the women until you empower the men. And you have to empower the men by the atmosphere in the household. One of the things that I'm incredibly proud of is that I'm a mother of a 22-year-old son. And every time he interacts with women, I'm filled with pride, because this was the man I wanted to raise. And some things just come naturally to him. But that empowerment begins with the home, by the mother. The language you use with your children, the way you behave both with your daughters and your sons, that will bring the change. And in Pakistan, alhamdulillah, I do feel that the masses, and we were just having a conversation before we came up here, that actually rural areas are far ahead of our select elite. So I returned to Pakistan because I find that those who've not been to universities are far more aware and accepting than our select elite community in our urban centers are. So I have hope.
But you know, there is also, you would accept, a lot of curiosity about your wedding with Imran Khan. I just want to find out, were you disappointed? Was there a difference in the kind of cricketer he is, in the persona that he has on as a cricketer? Or
empowering women. What has that got to do with empowering women? You're talking about personal.
But ma'am, we.
No, you're only going on a personal level, and there is a vicarious pleasure in that. And I think it's moving away from what we are talking about, empowering women across boundaries.
Women, but she also somebody.
You've asked her two questions already. I think you should move from the personal to the political.
Ma'am, but one second, let me decide the course of the discussion. Also, she's somebody who's empowered herself. She's gone through a difficult time. She's shared her experiences. She's written about it. There's no harm in asking about her on a public platform.
I've written about it, Simi. I've written about it because every time I'm written about, people can't even pronounce my name, those who write about me, and I've never even met them. But yes, it is a part of my life. People make mistakes. It's a very small part of my life. I'm 43 in April. It's a year of my life, so it doesn't define me as a person. Thank you. I agree with Shavana ji, because I'm sure everyone has a past, and my past has just been recorded in front of everyone. So sometimes people make mistakes and they're not documented.
Like Gul, we're talking about personal and professional lives. You've managed to keep your personal life under wraps. We know that you're an army officer's daughter, and you're the Miss India. in 1999, you were crowned Miss India. You were the Aam Aadmi Party's face in the Lok Sabha elections in Chandigarh. But still, we never saw your husband on the campaign trail. Have you made a conscious effort to separate your personal and professional lives?
Well, actually, Rishi, my husband, was constantly by my side during the campaign, and in the last 17 years that we've been together. We've been married for 5 years. But he has mastered the art of blending into the shadows. Most Bombay photographers recognize him. And here's the thing, they actually respect the fact that we like to keep our personal life personal. Every single photographer at any event that we go to, in fact in Delhi as well, recognizes him. And they ask him, sir, is baar to de dijiye photo. So they don't, and here's a bit of a controversial opinion. I think people who, and of course this is no disrespect to you, Reham, but it's more to do with the way our personal lives in showbiz in India are actually constantly under scrutiny. If you really want to keep your personal life personal and private, you can. But you have to want to do it. And if you really want to do that, the media will respect it. And I have always, and I'm living proof of that. So I have no grouse with the media. They have been very, very supportive of Rishi's desire to not become part of the media circus that my life sometimes becomes. And he's very much there, but yeah, into the shadows.
You know, Gul, you've also spoken about breaking stereotypes at many levels. You're the beauty on a bike, you're the dimple politician. Of course, you also have Rahul Gandhi, but you know, you're someone who's obviously seen as the really pretty politician on the field. I want to know if you've yourself encountered any kinds of situations where you've found yourself cornered because you're a woman or in a difficult situation, even though you're recognized as a celebrity across the country?
Well, you know, when I first became part of electoral politics, and of course that took me into very, very crowded places where understandably there were more men than women, a part of me, a very small part of me, was a little uncomfortable. But I found that at no point did I feel threatened. In fact, there's a very interesting memory that comes to my mind of being in crowded places. And also, I'd like to state on record that not once over the course of a very, very hectic and all-consuming electoral campaign across different cities and states during the Lok Sabha elections, not once was I touched inappropriately, ever, inadvertently or by design. Because I firmly believe that these things do exist, and of course they do. But maybe I was lucky, maybe I was surrounded by people who did not have such intentions. But I had my heart in my mouth one time campaigning in Banaras on the bike. Mr. Modi was to come and give a speech outside the BJP party headquarters in Banaras. And our campaign team had planned a rally right in front of it. I don't know why, but yes, right passing in front of the BJP party office. And about a couple hundred meters in the distance, I saw a sea of orange caps. So of course, Aam Aadmi Party had the whole cap thing going, and then we found these orange caps that had surfaced towards the end of the Lok Sabha campaign. And I actually had my heart in my mouth. I was leading a bike rally of women, and there were about, conservatively, if I were to estimate, 3,000 people in a small area, and we had to ride through it. And I thought to myself that just one, anybody who rides a bike or has ridden pillion would know, it's a little dhakka that you need, and you fall. And I actually was fearing that what happens if somebody just decides to push us a little bit. And here's where I have so much respect for the people of India, for all of us, and the fact that they were intrinsically good people. As the rally became single file from about 8-9 bikes width, I was leading it. As we approached that sea of orange caps, it just parted. Not one person tried to do anything to us. And my heart rate, and I'm very, very fit, my resting heart rate is 54 beats per minute, bradycardia and all that. But at that time, my heart rate was as though I was doing a high-intensity interval workout. It was at about 180, because I know my heart rate really well. My point is, I was so worried, but nothing happened. So to conclude, what I'd like to say is that, yes, I think there are challenges that women face of stereotypification. But if we approach everything that we do in an environment which we would like to be gender neutral, with the handicap, that we will be treated like this, we will always be at a disadvantage. You have to be aware of the fact that it exists, but not allow it to cloud every single action of yours. If you want to be treated as an individual, then maybe sometimes it does help to keep your gender back at home and try and be treated as an individual first and then as a woman.
So also at the risk of upsetting Ms. Shabana Azmi once again, you know, I think at some level our personal and public lives do coincide. Reham, after your wedding with Imran, there was a video of yours which was thrown up by the media again and again. Did you feel upset because of that, or did you miss that kind of lifestyle? So there's nothing wrong in dancing publicly, for example, in India. We don't consider that, we don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Well,
but in Pakistan, it was sort of used to bring down or sort of tear apart character. Did you?
Well, let me correct you. The video was actually launched before the wedding was announced and before the actual marriage also, and it was done for a particular purpose. And this is why I believe in our people, because no matter what people have tried to do with the misogyny on television and on social media, had I not returned post-divorce, I would have thought that I was the most hated woman in Pakistan. But actually, the love and respect and the protocol that I get now is genuine. It's not reflected glory, and it's not because I was someone's wife briefly. It's because people recognize from a distance courage and dignity. And I respect our people for that. I had the same reception as I crossed into Amritsar from Vaga. And that, I think, I believe that's where the future lies. And just to comment on what Gul said earlier, why is it expected for women to blend in the shadows? I was on TV for the last 11 years. I've worked in media. I came from being in the limelight, and I did what was expected of me to do. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with a woman being ambitious or with a woman who can speak her mind. I think if other people have a problem with it, then they need to fix it. I don't have to change myself. I have no plans of changing for any man, woman, or child.
Reham, you're saying you don't think that you need to change yourself at all to stick to any stereotype, but we've also seen a complete changeover in you after you came to Pakistan. For example, you started dressing differently, you started covering your head as opposed to when you were working for the BBC. I also saw an interview of you on Sama TV where you were in the kitchen whipping up batter, making breakfast. Was that is there a feeling that you have to sort of adhere to a stereotype to break the glass ceiling?
I think the stereotype is in people's minds, and no offense, but every bit intended, it's more in the minds of women in our society than the men. I've been whipping up pancake batter since I was 8 years old. That's because I like cooking, and I like cooking for my children, and I like cooking for whoever is part of my family. I don't discriminate if it happens to be a man and it happens to be a husband. I just cook better than both the men that I was married to. And I don't think that that limits my liberated mindset. The reason I've changed my appearance, and I landed in Pakistan December 2012. And I landed in Pakistan just for a few months, just to cover the elections. I went there for a personal reason. I went back to Pakistan to look after my mother after my father passed away. It was a gap year for me. I thought it would be good for my CV. I was bored with my job. I was a senior broadcast journalist at the BBC. It was coming back home after a very long shift and washing the dishes in the darkness. I just wanted excitement, and boy, did I get it in Pakistan. I was very lucky. Yes, I've had a very amusing life so far. But what I loved in Pakistan was, and I dread to this day, again, the elite political class. I just loved meeting the real people in Pakistan. So I enjoyed traveling to remote parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, all the way to the border, bordering Afghanistan and Balochistan and South Punjab. And I just like the way people dress up. So I quite like the traditional chadar. And I do that because it's a Pakistani identity. It's a Pakhtun identity to wear a white chadar. And I'm sure there's, in Rajasthan, there would be the chunri. For me, it has nothing to do with an appearance for people. It's who I am. And identity is fluid. So I just feel more comfortable wearing a chadar. I find people communicate, connect with me better. I sit on the floor with them and eat makai ki roti and saag, and they like it. Then when I talk to them, it's far easier for me to tell them about how they can improve their lifestyle. And for me, gender empowerment, again, is considered in isolation, but unless we improve the per capita income of every man, woman, and the future of every child in Pakistan and India, we'd be just doing other seminars and workshops and ticking the boxes and paying lip service to it. So that's why I changed my appearance, not because I've married someone.
All right, thank you both of you. I'm sorry, we've completely run out of time. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause as I call upon Mr. Pankaj Agarwal, Chancellor, Ramswarup University, to come up on stage and present the ladies with a small token of our appreciation. We'll just stay on board. Just stay on board. Thank you. Yes, you get little gifts to take back. Just a minute. All right, ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause, please?
Breaking news coming in this afternoon. Bomb scare at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in Delhi. Threat to Air India, Nepal Airlines flight. All on board 2 flights have been detained. There's check.
So this time it's going to be me who's going to be talking to you.
It's going to be me who's going to tell you what's new from the world of technology. We have news, we have reviews, and we have Sahil doing the Redmi Note 3 review. And